Hey y'all, welcome to my YouTube. My name is Brittany, also known as Simone Elise. Y'all, I am the worst poster. I've been trying to be consistent with videos and YouTube, but I've been having a lot going on behind the scenes. But I have challenged myself to 30 days of consistent posting on YouTube. So I'm excited for this. So that's why you see me in my pajamas. I just came from the grocery store. And I was like, I'm not going to sleep until I post this video. So let's talk about the best country to get out of survival mode, Southeast Asia edition. So for those of you that do not know my story, I have been traveling for 12 months with my 3-year-old. And we have been traveling all through Southeast Asia. So we've stayed in Thailand for 60 days, Laos for 3 weeks, Vietnam for 6 months, Bali all throughout for 60 days. And now we are in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It's been 35 days or so. So let's talk about the best country to get out of survival mode. First off, in order to go down that rabbit hole, let's talk about what survival mode is. So survival mode is when you are barely able to get by. You're barely able to survive. And when you're in those situations, your nervous system is a lot of times not able to regulate and relax because you are just trying to survive. You got to figure out how the kids gonna eat. You got to figure out how you gonna get clothes for school. You got to figure out how you gonna pay these bills, how this rent gonna get taken care of, how you gonna get groceries. It's $400. How you gonna cover gas because it's whatever per gallon. How you gonna pay this car note? This is when you are trying to survive, right? And when you are in that frequency, it's very hard to have a regulated nervous system because you can't think past just your survival instincts. So before I left the United States, I was working a job and I just was like surviving. I was stressed out, I was overwhelmed, and my intuition woke me up in the middle of the night and told me like, go to Chiang Mai. And I'm like, what's in Chiang Mai? Mind you, I never saw a TikTok video, I never saw anything online. This was just straight heart intuition just speaking, the creator speaking, right? And it was the best decision because it really helped me to get out of survival mode within myself. It helped me to actually have a regulated nervous system. And I feel like we normalize being dysregulated and being all over the place. A lot of things we normalize, but when you get away from the noise, you can really hear your soul speak. So I really feel like this country in particular is really good to get out of survival mode because if you save up, so I saved about 5,500 before I left. My goal was to save 12,000 to 15,000, but I ended up putting in my 30-day notice at my job and they let me go like 3 days later. So whatever plan I felt like I was gonna have, it was just completely out the door. So with 5,500 you can do a lot, especially in this particular country. But also I feel like before you make this type of choice, you should have some type of income stream coming in, because if you don't, even though you'll be in a country where it'll help you to have a better quality of life, you will still throw your body into survival mode again because you're struggling financially. And in like Southeast Asia and just in general, when you go outside of the United States, it's hard to get a job, to be honest, unless you have certain credentials, unless you have a college degree, or in certain countries you're only able to do certain professions. But that's a whole nother video. We can talk about that another time. But I really feel like the best country to get out of survival mode is Vietnam. And I'm gonna say that because I lived in Vietnam for 6 months. I lived in Dalat and I lived in Da Nang. Da Nang is more like the Miami vibe. It's a beach kind of city mixed with a little bit of city life. When I was living there, I stayed in the studio. It's technically a studio apartment, but it did have a separation of a door, so they would call it a 1-bedroom, but it really was so little, I would call it a studio. In that apartment, it was all brand new, so beautiful. And if you want me to show like a video after this of what it looked like, I'll upload one. But I paid about $333 USD a month, and that was everything. My utilities, I think they came to like $80. That included water and electricity. My phone bill which really just included data. So I would only be able to communicate with people through WhatsApp, and I would be able to get on TikTok, Instagram, you know, all the things that you need to do. That was like $10 USD a month, y'all, crazy. On top of that, I really at that time mostly ate out. You know, I mostly would eat out because while, you know, I didn't feel like cooking. Eating out, I didn't spend that much money. You know, I can get a meal for my daughter and I, $4, $6, obviously depending on what I was eating. When I did get groceries, y'all, my grocery bill, $50 to $80, and it was so many groceries, so much stuff. And I just feel like Vietnam is just a really good place to, number one, you are gonna, you know, if you're the type of person that likes the water, you know, water kind of grounds you and calms you, that's perfect because it's a beautiful beach. And you know, it helps because during that time, I did not have a lot of income coming in. I would say about 900, maybe 1,000 a month would be what it was at that time. And I was able to really live, you know what I'm saying? Like, I paid the 333. Like I said, I went through the bills. It wasn't a lot to take care of. As far as transportation, we would take Grab, which is like the Uber of the Southeast Asia. And I actually think Grab is more than just Southeast Asia, but like getting on a bike, getting in a car, $1, y'all. We would take motorcycles everywhere, mostly $1, $2, $3, very, very cheap. I mean, it would be crazy. And that was in Da Nang. When I was in Da Nang, I didn't have any daycare just because I didn't quite feel comfortable at that time to get daycare yet. But when I went to Dalat, I was like, gotta get daycare. So y'all, look, I stayed in an apartment in Dalat. I stayed in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I paid 400 USD a month. And that included everything, all the utilities. Sometimes it would, okay, so Dalat was a city in the mountains, so sometimes it would be cold actually, like kind of like super cold sometimes. Like I was wearing stockings and you know, my daughter and I were wearing coats. It was actually kind of breezy because you're by the mountains. And I would have a heater on sometimes, so my landlord would add that on, you know, and that may be $20 a month, no lie. And I had that heater running all day. And I ended up finding a daycare for my daughter, literally right next door. I paid $80 a month for that daycare, y'all. So I say all that to say, if you are looking to get out of survival mode, the number one way to get out of survival mode is to financially like lower your expenses. Because when you lower the expenses, you lower your output.
Mommy.
Then you can, yeah, you can have some. When you lower your output, then you're actually able to regulate yourself better. If you think about most of the time that a lot of people are in survival mode and stressed out, it is financial based. Because the finances cover so many things, you know, especially when you got kids, you know, a lot of the survival mode comes on because of your finances, right? So if you can get to a position where your output, money, can you go in the room, babe? Mommy's recording the video.
I want it.
Okay, well, this is mommy's. If you can get to a place where your finances are substantially low and, you know, that output is not high at all, then now you can start to think again. You can start to figure out your purpose, your path. You can start to work on whatever it is that you want to work on. Or you can start just becoming the version of yourself that you want to be. Because what would you do if your expenses only totaled you 600 to 800 USD a month? You may start dancing again. You may start painting again. You may start doing hair again. You may start doing nails. You see what I'm saying? There's an expansion that happens in your mind because you're no longer worried about, okay, well, I gotta pay for groceries, I gotta do this, and then I gotta do it all by myself. Let's say that's your struggle, right? So I feel like Vietnam is a really good country. A lot of people say Thailand, to each his own, because I went there too. A lot of people say Bali. A lot of people gonna tell you everywhere. Vietnam is where you're gonna really get like very low cost of living, a higher quality experience. Now, what I'm not gonna lie to you and say like, oh, the people are so amazing. I think Vietnamese people are great. Vietnamese people remind me of black people though. Sometimes you go into places and black people, what do? They speak to you and sometimes they don't. Vietnamese people are the same. So when people have this misconception like, oh my God, they're so nice. Oh my God, they're so amazing. That's just not the reality. You know, I'm not saying that they're mean, but they're just regular people. So I want to like, and I'll make another video about just my experiences culturally, just going to different countries. And this is, I love each culture. I'm so grateful. I've had some of the best people take care of my daughter that were Vietnamese, and I've met and I've connected with a lot of great Vietnamese people. So this is not a jab. It's just simply saying that when we put people on this pedestal, we have this preconceived notion that, oh my God, this is gonna be magical. And again, they're just like regular people. Sometimes they talk to you, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they laugh, sometimes they don't. When I was living in Dalat, it was literally, so Dalat is a city, excuse me, Dalat is a city in Vietnam where the Vietnamese go to vacation. So a lot of the Vietnamese people are looking at you crazy. What are you doing here? You know? So it was my daughter and I and two other black people. And they would legit laugh at us, like a lot of the times. Pull out their phone, record. It was kind of crazy. And like I said, I'll record another video for that. But so that was the experience with Dalat. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it there. But I do recommend Vietnam as a whole. You know what I mean? A lot of people go to Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. I was gonna go to Ho Chi Minh. I didn't get a chance to, but Ho Chi Minh is not cheap. You know what I mean? It's not America, but it's not Da Nang price at all. So like I said, I think I would say the best city, in my opinion, is Da Nang to go to in Vietnam. But you know, Ho Chi Minh City is going to give you a bigger city kind of vibe, more like a Bangkok. So if you compare Chiang Mai and Bangkok, it's not comparable because Bangkok is busier. Same thing with Ho Chi Minh and Da Nang. But yeah, I feel like if you're really trying to shift your life and get out of survival mode, you want to leave the United States, I think Vietnam is a good choice. But y'all, look, make sure y'all comment, subscribe, and also like this. Share this with somebody that you know. If you have some like questions or other videos or other ideas, like I told y'all, I need y'all to hold me accountable to posting every day because I gotta be consistent, okay? And I really want to like explore and share. I have so much knowledge and just so much to share, and I just really want to connect with y'all and share my life. And I want y'all to feel like it's a safe space to really just comment and say whatever it is. So if you have any like video recommendations or anything that you want me to say or talk about, comment below. See y'all later. Bye. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace, y'all.